What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Sacktown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason. And today we are going to be reviewing the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. so we're going to be talking about that. I say let me just get right into it. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring that in. I'm actually going to get into this one. So a little backtrack. So if you don't know the story of the Justice League, if that's not your jam, you don't know anything about it. Basically, Zack Snyder was filming his version of the Justice League, which is basically, kind of like the DC version of the Avengers. Basically, it's got your Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, The Flash, etc., etc. So basically, this was going to be his version of that, the big team up. The film basically was going to take place right after the Batman versus Superman film. Whereas if you've seen that film, and it's not a spoiler, basically Superman dies in that film. So this was going to be kind of like the aftermath. I know. Well, you got to be able to. So this is going to be kind of like the aftermath of that, and basically them having to kind of work together. They know that there's danger coming from afar at some point. Is kind of what the film was going to be about. So Zack Snyder was hired. If you don't know who Zack Snyder is, he directed a few other superhero films. He also did 300. So he's got a very distinctive style. I can't say that I've loved every single film that Zack Snyder has made, but he definitely has a very distinctive style. It's always like really dark, and DC in general is typically a little darker, or whatever case may be. So somewhere around the middle of filming, he had basically a death in the family of a child, and him and his wife, who was also the producer of the film, both had to basically step away from that particular film, and they brought in was it Josh Whedon?
Josh Whedon, yeah.
Yeah, Josh Whedon came in and basically finished the film for him. Cut a lot of the stuff out and finished the film. I don't know how much was completed when he left.
Reshot a lot of new stuff too.
And reshot a lot of new stuff as well. And produced a product back in 2018, which that film was what, 2 hours and some change or something of that nature?
Maybe, yeah. Thereabouts.
I did see that film. It wasn't very well received from most people. A lot of people flat out hated it. To be honest with you, I didn't necessarily hate it. I thought that maybe I gave it a low score, but I checked. I had actually given it a 3.5, which is pretty high for me. So I actually didn't. I didn't hate it. I actually overall liked it, but would I still give it that grade today? I don't know. I haven't seen it in many years. I haven't seen it since 2018, but initially I did like it, at least elements of the film. But it wasn't well received. A lot of people didn't like it. It got overall panned and that sort of thing. Well, flash forward to, I guess, sometime last year, maybe around COVID, they basically, Zack Snyder was ready to kind of start shooting films again. And they basically gave him, I think, like $50 million to go back in and basically finish his original vision of the Justice League. So he did more reshoots and went back in and did more editing and added back his scenes that he wanted in there, and produced what ended up being like a 4-hour and 2-minute long movie that is now actually streaming on a HBO Max. So you can actually watch it there. And
it was also like there was a big fan crusade also.
Yeah,
over the past few years, released the Snyder Cut. A lot of. Yeah, I think that's probably a lot of what that kind of groundswell is what convinced Warner Brothers to let him do that.
Open up the wallets and allow that to happen. You and I, we both like superhero movies, but neither one of us are big comic or superhero fans. It's just not our wheelhouse. We both like them. So I was going to see this mostly just because of the hype. Because I was like, well, I didn't really know. I'm like, I know it's going to be longer. It's going to be like twice as long as the original version. But other than that, I was a little hesitant of how good it was going to be, because it just was going to feel like, in my opinion, like a really long, bloated film. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, what more could you add to that story? You know what I mean? Long story short, they added quite a bit. So there was a lot of things and I'd have to go back to rewatch the Josh Whedon version that was out in 2018. But it was just a more cohesive story. I mean, it really, you know, either he would have only had two options. He would either had to split this movie into two parts, which I don't know how that would work, or make a 4-hour-long movie, because there was just so much story. Because part of the problem, and this is the problem that he probably had, that the Avengers didn't have, and I would just go into the difference between the Avengers and Justice League because of this. So the Avengers, pretty much every character that's in the Avengers has had their own movie, pretty much. You know, you know, the Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man, they all have had multiple, Guardians of the Galaxy. They've all had multiple movies of themselves, and it's just basically bringing them all together. The difference with Justice League, though, outside of Batman and well, Superman, and I think maybe one Wonder Woman movie. I'm not for sure.
Oh yeah, there's been 2 of those now. Yeah,
yeah, they really hadn't had any of their own films, so they were introducing a lot of these characters. Because Aquaman, I think that film came out after this one. The Flash hasn't had his own film. I know that. Yeah. And then Cyborg hadn't had his own film as well.
Not only that, but his entire arc was cut out of the 2017 version.
So these were pretty much like an origin story for these guys who really didn't have their own platform. And, you know, I mean, especially I would say Cyborg the most, because there was a lot of things that got cut out for him. I mean, he was almost the biggest hero of this film. But you wouldn't have got that if you just watched the 2018 version, because you don't really understand his motive. You understand a little bit how he became Cyborg, but you never really got into the full depth of that and what happened to him and the struggles he had with his father and you know, all that stuff wasn't really told initially. So you didn't really see all those conflicts and you know, and they say that, you know, basically everybody says that, you know, his story was the heart of the film, and it really was. Which, if you watch the 2018 version, you wouldn't have got any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Because that's what made this story, in my opinion, even better. So it is a longer film. There's a lot more to it. They've added a lot more pizzazz and flash, and the look of it looks better. Even the main villain, Steppenwolf, I think he spruced him up a little bit, so he looks a little bit better as a villain. And it's just more story. It's just a more complete, cohesive story. Whereas I feel like having watched this now, if I went back and watched the 2018 version, I would feel like something was missing. You know what I mean? Like I would feel like there was something actually missing from the story. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought it was long, but it was, you know, I did watch it in 2 parts. So I watched the first half of it, took a little bit of a break, then came back to it. But I did finish it all in one day. And essentially, though, I took, you know, like took an hour to go cook and then ate dinner, and then we finished it or whatever. But no, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought it was just a more cohesive story. You know, I've heard rumors that there's not going to be a second part of it, which, you know, there was a lot of foreshadowing towards the end. There's other villains and things of that nature. At least they don't have Zack Snyder signed on to do another film. And, you know, he definitely left some nuggets in this film to make a follow-up film. Just kind of, there's a really good epilogue. There's new characters that were introduced that weren't even in the Joss Whedon version. So there's a new superhero. There's an even bigger, bad guy that, you know, wasn't really talked about in the last one. So there's just a lot more to the story that wasn't included. And it's a shame, you know what I mean? Because had he had an opportunity to make this film back in 2018, you know, who knows, you know, there might've been, you know, 3 or 4 other movies that were made just off of that one that was still part of that whole DC universe, basically. So, and I've always been, I probably like more Marvel films than I like DC films, and that's just probably because of sheer volume. I mean, there's like, you know, when all the Marvel films, there was like a new one every month. You know what I mean? There's been, like I said,
for a while there.
You know, 3. You know, how many Spider-Man films with different actors have there been over the last 20 years? You know what I mean? Like 6, 7, I don't know. You know what I mean? There's been at least 3 Iron Man films. There's been at least, you know, 3, you know, Captain America films. Then you had all the Avenger Civil War and all the other Avenger films, and then the Endgame films where it's just like more characters, and they're all getting other movies as well. So, you know, we're all a little bit more familiar with seeing films from them, and there was a lot of those films versus, you know, Justice League, there just haven't been as many films. I mean, there's been Superman films, yes. There's been Batman films, yes. But outside of that, there really haven't been a lot of Wonder Woman films in the past. You know, Flash films in the past. Definitely no Aquaman films. And then, you know, I'm not a big comic book guy, so I never even knew who Cyborg was. You know what I mean? There's always some superhero or person that's a cyborg in films, but I didn't know who he particularly was. So, you know, so I've seen more Marvel films, so yeah, there's probably, but I still like the darkness and the serious tone. It just feels more real to me for some reason. It's all comic book fantasy, but for some reason, I don't know what it is about the DC films. They just feel more real to me. You know what I mean? And they feel a little darker, a little edgier. You know what I mean? And they just bring a little bit something that I feel like Marvel doesn't bring to it. You know what I mean? I feel like Marvel's kind of like, you know, kind of light. You know, you know, like the consequences don't just for some reason don't feel as real versus DC, where it feels a little more real. You feel like there's some real consequences, and you feel it feels a little bit more serious and even just genuine overall. You know, the storylines are more genuine. A lot of people will knock. I know you're a big fan of the Batman versus Superman one. That there is that scene where, you know, he yells out Martha and that kind of. I'll agree with that scene. So outside of that, yes, and the older Superman films, you could argue there was some cheese factor to it. Those ones are much lighter, but I'm talking about more like 2000 and moving on kind of thing. So the Dark Knights, you know what I mean? Those were darker, more serious in tone. More edge, just added that extra something that I just don't feel like I get a lot of times from the Marvel films, in my opinion. So, but yeah, overall, I liked it. I thought it was a good film. I thought it was fun. Like I said, it definitely, there's a lot of foreshadowing of what, you know, may come if they have them come back and do another film. But, you know, I'd be interested to see what happens with that story. And from what I've been told, because this was shot back in, you know, 2017, so this was before like Avengers Endgame and things of that nature, you do see a lot of parallels and similarities to certain scenes in this film with the villain, like the bad guy. And it feels like, you know, I don't know, it kind of feels like, you know, maybe they lended a little bit from this film, from what I, you know, because there's a lot of things that I noticed about it, and I'm just like, wow, that kind of seems very eerily similar to, you know, to the Avengers films, you know what I mean? But I know this film was shot before like those Endgame films were filmed. So I thought that was interesting too. What was your take, Jason?
Oh, yeah, I absolutely loved it. Yeah. Like you, I've never been into comic books. I personally, I've never been into superheroes all that much. So I'm approaching all of these, Marvel or DC, as films. That's what I'm looking at them for. I don't come to it with all this baggage of reading the comics my whole life. I have zero interest in comic books, but I love movies. And I thought this was amazing. And yeah, like you, I'm finding, and I think this kind of, in a way, it kind of sealed the deal for me that I like the DC stuff more. You know, I do like a lot of Marvel movies. Like you said, probably pure volume. There's probably more because there's just so many to pull from.
Right.
And there are several Marvel movies that I think rise above the pack, you know, Into the Spider-Verse, Black Panther, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, the ones that are kind of different, you know. But for the most part, I find Marvel's approach to be too cookie cutter, too light, too frivolous. Yeah. You know, like you're saying, like, there just doesn't seem to be any stakes, any kind of consequences. You know what I mean? Even when it gets big,
all run together. You know what I mean? I couldn't tell you.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember the name of the one that came out before Endgame, but I couldn't even tell you what the name of that film was, or what was so much different from that film than Endgame was. You know what I mean? Other than maybe the ending of what happens at the end, but the other stuff, the nuts and bolts, and then they already had started adding like characters into like the other films, like you know, in the Iron Man, he started teaming up with Spider-Man started teaming up with Iron Man, and then the Captain Marvel films, they were already teaming up with, you know, Hulk and you know what I mean, and so they were already bringing all these people in, and so all those films to me were just so interchangeable. You know what I mean? Like I you know what I mean? I couldn't tell you the difference, you know. So, oh, you don't remember what happens in, you know, Iron Man 3 where he I'm like, no, I don't remember. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Because I don't remember. I couldn't tell you the difference between the first, the second, and the third. Only thing I remember is I liked the first one, I liked the second one, and I didn't care as much for the third one. You know what I mean? That's all I remember about it, though. You know, because they're just
there is also that kind of generic like cookie cutter approach, and they all feel like 90% of them, they feel exactly the same, they look exactly the same, they have the same sense of humor. It's like almost like they were made by the same person, but they're not. Which is how you know they prioritize like brand recognizability over directorial style.
Right.
And DC doesn't. That's what I like. Like Marvel, they're clearly like they're directed by different people, but they're operating on a playbook because I mean, they're all the same.
You couldn't tell who the director of the the last Spider-Man was from the last Iron Man film. You know what I mean? And maybe it was the same director. But you really wouldn't know because they all have that same look, that same feel. Everything's almost the same in those films, so you really don't know who directed it. You don't really care because, like you said, so even the Joss Whedon guy, he directed, I guess, a few of the Marvel films. From what I'm being told, but I don't.
Yeah, he did the first Avengers. Yeah, the first Avengers. Yeah,
so I don't even know which ones he directed because they're all so interchangeable and so cookie cutter. Whereas, I know Zack Snyder's style, and it comes through in this film. You know what I mean? I know Christopher Nolan's style, and it comes through in the 3 Batman films that he did. You know what I mean? So there is that distinctness where they're given the free reins of doing what they want to do with the story, and they do their own thing, and they do their own style. And I like that about it. And it doesn't always work. No, I mean, I can't say that I love every single DC film that comes out.
Oh, no.
You know, I didn't care for nobody really liked that last Wonder Woman film. You know what I mean? But I'm talking about the Wonder Woman 1984. If you haven't seen that one, I did like the one previous to that one, but I didn't care for this one. But you know what I mean. But they have their own distinct style and flair, and you know they do something different. You know, even the villains, like they made a whole film about Joker. You know what I mean? That was its own and its own flair. They didn't come in and be like, oh no, you're gonna have a Joker film and Batman's not in it, or you're gonna, you know what I mean? Like no, they had their own distinctive style and like flair, and you know what I mean? And they just give them that freedom, you know, to do what they wanted to do. So, and I kind of like that about that. I kind of like that about the story.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, I was not one of the people like campaigning for the release of the Snyder Cut. You know, I wasn't one of those people, but this made me like really grateful for those people if they are truly what kind of initiated Warner Brothers to allow it to happen, then I'm really thankful for that. Yeah. And you know, I was always I've been a Zack Snyder fan. Like I don't you know, he's got a really distinctive style, and anything that's really distinctive, it's pretty much, you know, some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, but I'm endlessly like I don't really understand why he can't seem to get the respect from like the critics or a lot of the fans even. I don't get it because I think, you know, he's got a really distinctive style. Visually, all of his films are amazing.
I mean, what I've heard is that he does more style over substance is what some of the general. Not that I agree with that. I'm just saying that's some of the things that I've read about him in the past, and you know, that there's no heart to a lot of his films. It's just more brooding, like whereas this film definitely has heart. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. You know,
but
I don't get the lack of substance either, because I mean, to me, like as opposed to like the Marvel movies, which are mostly like, you know, fluff, you know what I mean? Like they don't seem to have very much depth to them. Like one of the reasons I love Batman versus Superman is because he gives it like the full on like operatic, like almost like Godfather kind of feel, like this epic drama where it feels like real stakes, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And I really love that. I mean, like he makes them mythic, you know, like Marvel. I know Marvel style is that like the superheroes are like, you know, kind of regular guys and gals, you know what I mean? They're just like us, except they have superheroes. Right. But Zack Snyder, no, these are like
they shop the same.
Yeah, yeah. But Zack Snyder is the exact opposite. He's like, no, these are gods. You know, these are gods, like Greek gods almost. So you got to treat them with that kind of respect. Right. And I just personally gravitate toward that a little more.
He did 300, which is about literally Greek gods. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of his style. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I completely understand that. So, but yeah, you know, but I like it. I like that style.
I still think his best movie is Dawn of the Dead, to be honest, because I love, you know, that Dawn of the Dead, you know, but I've liked, you know, to be honest, I was looking at his movies and I've liked every single one of them, except for I wasn't crazy about Man of Steel. But now, considering how much I love his version of Justice League and Batman versus Superman, oh, and another thing, I just enjoy seeing more of Ben Affleck's Batman, because I think people like to make fun of Ben Affleck, but I think he's my second favorite. After Michael Keaton, he's my second favorite Batman. I think he's a perfect Batman.
I think that's another thing that people like really hate on is I don't know, for some reason people just don't like they don't like Ben Affleck. I don't know what he did to become like this like not likable guy, but like he's a good actor. He does good in films. He's a great director as well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I don't understand the hate for him. You know what I mean? People just hate on Ben Affleck for what I feel like is no reason at all. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I don't get it. And he plays a great Batman. You know what I mean? I know everybody likes to talk about, you know, Christian Bale, but Christian Bale is not that great of a Batman. Let's just be honest. Christian Bale is? He's a great Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's a great Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? But when he puts on that suit and he talks with like that super, you know what I mean? Like, it's not. He's not. You know, the thing that made the Dark Knight series, if that's what you want to call it, so great was the villains. You know what I mean?
The villains, yeah.
You know, or when Batman Begins, because for like 90% of that movie, he was Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? That's what I like about it. He played a really, really good Bruce Wayne. And once he puts on the suit and becomes Batman, that's where I kind of have issues with him. You know what I mean? Because I think they made him too gruff, and I just didn't like that voice that they used for him, or that he decided to use. But I think that you know, Ben Affleck makes a good Bruce Wayne, and he makes a great Batman as well. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree. I just I really hope, I don't even know if it's in the cards, but I really hope that this is successful enough to warrant them getting behind them to continue this story. You know what I mean? Like, because I saw Justice League in, you know, 2017 or 18 or whatever it was, and I was looking forward to it, even though I knew about the behind the scenes drama and that Zack Snyder dropped out and that it was like not his version. But I was looking forward to it because I love Batman versus Superman, and I remembered nothing about it. Like I'm a Joss Whedon fan, you know. I mean, you know, I'm a huge like Buffy, you know, I'm a huge Buffy fan. So I like Joss Whedon, Cabin in the Woods, you know.
And like I said, I feel bad because everybody's kind of like ragging on Joss Whedon now because of this version that came out that was like infinitely better than the Zack Snyder's film. But I do have to give him a little bit of, because he's coming into something that was almost already completed and trying to finish it up. And you can't really do that either. You know what I mean? You know, I'm not saying that if he was given the reins from beginning to end, we would have liked that story better, but you know what I mean? But you got to give him a little bit of slack because, you know, and chop through something else that somebody else is working on. You know, you think about your job. If someone else is working on a project and you step into the middle of it and they're trying to complete that project, you know what I mean? You're going to have some struggles and you're going to make changes, you know, based on what you do, not based on what he had started. You know what I mean? So
totally. Yeah.
So it's just going to cause, it's not going to be cohesive. You know what I mean? It's going to feel like two different styles, which is what that film felt like. It felt like two different directors were making that film, you know? And that's
I don't remember anything about it. Like I remember I went to see it and I think I fell asleep and I never felt like I needed to go back and see what I missed. Cause it just like, it wasn't, you know, I was looking for a continuation of Batman versus Superman and it wasn't, you know, it was just kind of this Frankenstein's monster of, two very, very different filmmakers' styles. Jumbled together and like, I'm just glad that this version came out now.
Yeah, no, I am too. It was great, man. Man, like I said, if it wasn't 4 hours long, I probably would have already watched it again by now.
Yeah.
Definitely
it's two sittings. It's two sittings for sure. Yeah. Like, and I wonder, like, you know, and I'm sure that was part of the problem back then too, is like Warner Brothers, like, we can't release a 4 hour movie, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, You know, I would have enjoyed this, you know, seeing it like at IMAX or something with like a 30-minute intermission, you know, it would have been pretty awesome, I think. And I watched it in 2 sittings. I watched it one, you know, on the same day though, you know, and loved it. It's kind of interesting that my #1 movie of 2021 right now is a movie that was made, you know, 6 years ago or whatever. But
or something. That is funny. It's I don't know. It's interesting. I'll tell you what though. You know, people can say what they want about, you know, movies not being in theaters and that kind of stuff. I mean, the 2021 films that I've seen so far, I'm really digging them. You know what I mean? A lot of them have been really, really good. So it's definitely shaping up to be a pretty interesting year. So we'll see how that carries on. But, you know, I'm already like, man, there's going to be films that are going to be better than the ones that I've already loved. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be crazy. I can't wait to see what else comes out for the rest of the year. And maybe there won't be. I don't know. But I'm just saying, if there is, that'd be awesome. That means it's
of course,
for a great 2021 as far as filmmaking goes and as far as films go. So, and we might be back in theaters very soon. So I'm thinking about actually going to the movie theater next week. So,
see Nobody? Yeah. I want to see that for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking about actually going and just checking it out because I haven't been to a theater since we saw Tenet. Was the last thing. Was September. So I'm thinking about going and checking that out just to get out of the house and see something. You know what I mean? I just think that We'll see what happens with that. So
cool, man.
Cool. Well, let's get into those reviews actually. So the overall grade and face you would give Justice League?
I gave it 5 out of 5. Yeah, I mean, like, I guess you could argue that it's, you know, long, maybe a little bit too much of a good thing. But to be honest, like, it was just, it had so much awesomeness to offer. I mean, like, it was just like wall to wall with like great stuff, you know. So I have to hand it to this movie for like really being something, just justifying its hugeness, you know what I mean? And just being, you know, I loved it. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars, which is a like happy face, even though it's, you know, it's kind of sad, serious movie in a lot of ways. It's also a lot of fun. And I absolutely loved it.
Cool.
It's what I watch movies for. You know what I mean? Like, it's so imaginative. It's exciting. It's fun. It's got a really cool visual look to it. It's not happy-go-lucky, you know, not that I don't like happy movies, but I don't know. It's my cup of tea, you know. So for sure. Okay, I'll shut up now.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's interesting for me because, like I said, I was really surprised that I gave the first one 3.5. I don't know if I accidentally gave it that extra half star. I don't know that I would still give it that. I'd have to really go back and watch it again, but I must have liked it. I don't remember liking it that much. You know what I mean? But I looked at the grade. Really, that's what I gave that. I don't remember liking it that much, so you know, I don't know. So, but this one was definitely better. It's just a better, more cohesive, more complete unit of a film. I didn't quite give it the 5 out of 5 that you did, but I am going to go with I think I'm going to go with a 4.5 out of 5 on this one, which is kind of rare for me. So like I said, I don't give those out very often. I didn't give any last year. I don't think.
You've already given 2 this year now.
I have.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm really liking this year so far. Things are looking good for me, man. They're my kind of films they're making the kind of films I like. I like Justice League films. We all know that. We all know that about me. I love films where people take advantage of elderly. So that's the thing about me.
That's right. That's Kier in a nutshell.
That's right. So
he's a comic book nerd and he loves taking advantage of old people.
That's right. That's my thing. That's my jam, man. Everybody knows that about me. That's what people know about me. I'm like, if you're an old person, I'm kicking you down a flight of stairs. That's just what I do. No, he's kidding. I am joking. I don't kick old people down flights of stairs, but no, I definitely
elevator shafts.
So I gave it 4.5 out of 5, and that's a big old smile. So no, I loved it. I thought it was great. I guess my only small gripe, and the reason why I couldn't give it the full 5 was it is a little long. And I've already seen most of this movie, or a good chunk of this movie, before. You know what I mean? So it's kind of almost like watching it a second time, but with additional scenes. And then the epilogue. So there is the epilogue. I liked it. I didn't love it though. I was more confused than liking the epilogue. And I feel like they added a little bit too much onto that end. A little bit. You know what I mean? I don't know. I would have liked them to kind of hold back a little bit, maybe, or just made it a little bit less. I don't know. There was something about that. I was just like, I just felt like it was. I was kind of ready for the movie, I guess, to be kind of over, and then it just kept going with that. You know what I mean? And so I did have a little bit of an issue with that. It kept going at the end. That's my only small gripe. Other than that, it was a great film, though. So definitely loved it. Like I said, definitely, you know, well, it's number one for you, but it's be number two, I think, for me for this year so far. So, so yeah,
cool.
So if you haven't seen Justice League and you got HBO Max, check it out. You might like it
for sure.
You might like it. Definitely bring lots of water, snacks, porta potty, whatever you need.
No, don't bring a lot of water.
Porta potty, whatever you need. You know what I mean? Because it's going to be a long ride. But like I said, my best advice is breaking it up. I think a good point to break it up, and it's almost a halfway point. There's a first like big battle scene where they first meet up with Steppenwolf. I would take a break right after that. If I
2 hours. I still remember because it was just a couple of days ago. 2 hours and 11 minutes.
Yeah, so,
get 2 hours and 11 minutes is the perfect breaking spot.
So if you're watching and you're like wondering where you should take a break, that's the perfect spot to take a break, in my opinion. It's almost like right there at the halfway point. It's a little bit more than it may come by a couple minutes, but it's right there because you know that's the first big battle scene, and you'll know it when you see it because I see big battle scenes. So when you after that first big battle scene and everybody's together kind of things, and you'll know it. That would be the perfect spot to take a break. So and then finish the film. So whatever you want to do, but definitely watch it, check it out. You might like it. You know, you don't have to necessarily be the biggest superhero people in order to enjoy this. Because I'm not a huge. I do like some of them, but I'm not huge. I don't get all super, crazy and excited for every superhero film that comes out. I wasn't crazy and excited for this either. You know what I mean? I just was going to watch it. It's popular. I don't get like super like, oh my God, I can't believe the new Spider-Man film's coming. Can't wait. You know what I mean? That's just never been me, no. Quentin Tarantino or a new action film or something of that nature. You got me there. But with that said, if they make another part of this Justice League film, and Zack Snyder is directing, I would be really excited to see that. So I'd be extremely
same here.
Cool.
Same here.
Well, cool. Well, let us know down in the comments. Have you seen Justice League? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Your thoughts, takes. Did you see the first part? How does it compare? Let us know down in the comments. As always, if you like the channel, we ask that you like, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification, and we'll be back again with another show for you guys again real soon. We thank you for watching and hope you have a great day. Bye.